Hi, this is Yvon Prehn, and I would like to talk about the significance of seasonal communications for outreach and church growth. We're especially going to be talking about some summer things right now, though what I will have to say will apply at other times of the year also. Seasonal events are so important. We might have the greatest plan to introduce people to the Christian faith and grow them into mature disciples, but how do we get them started on the journey? Here on this website, if you have looked around, you know that we have the 5 steps of effective church communications and marketing. This is very, very effective to grow people up in their Christian faith, but how do you even get them started? This is where seasonal events can help us. Secular advertising is so pervasive around all of the holidays: Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas, fall, Halloween, Mother's Day. I mean, you name it. There is a huge amount of advertising. You can't get away from it. So people are thinking about these things. This gives us a reason to invite people that's much less intimidating than an invitation to church, which might seem kind of crazy and scary, and people just don't know exactly why they would want to come. But to a seasonal event, a barbecue at our church this summer, something like that, might be much more enjoyable. But we need a new approach. Any of you that have done seasonal events in your church, and I'm sure that's all of you that are listening, know that they don't always turn out the way we want them to. We do a tremendous amount of work, and oftentimes we get a big turnout to the event itself. The day is considered a success, but the following week, how many people come back to church? That's the big question. Oftentimes, it's kind of just business as usual, and discouragement, incorrect blaming, all these sorts of things are the result. What we need is a new approach, an integrated approach that combines print, online, and other media, that uses them before, during, and after our big events, that provides congregational buy-in and involvement, and that will result in lasting life change and congregational growth. Now, I'm going to cover very quickly how to do all of these things, but at the end of the webinar, I will give you quite a few additional resources, because I have lots and lots of other things that will help you do this more effectively and in depth. We need a new approach for a number of reasons. First of all, it is really good stewardship. Big events are very costly, and today, when churches are very justifiably especially concerned about finances, we have to be very, very careful. Big events cost in the PR and in production. Now, they don't need to cost in the PR if you do a lot of the things that I will tell you to do, but they can be very, very costly. And with all that money spent, what is your return on investment? Did the money that you spend, did that bring something back to your church? And I don't mean money in this instance. Our return on investment is our people. We don't want to lose them in the summer or any other time. We want to keep the church growing, and we need a new way to do that. Also, now this section is really, really important. To do things in a new way is really good evangelism, because we live in a post-Christian world. In the past, people knew what you talked about when you talked about judgment and sin and all those sorts of things. People don't know what that means today. The church, faith, Jesus, it's new to many. Now, in the past, if you got somebody to come to church with you, the preacher would get up and would perhaps preach a sermon at the end of the event or whatever, and would call people to make a decision. That was very valid. Not so much so today, because people don't know what they're asked to decide. They don't really understand who Jesus is, and what's the meaning of sin today, and why would a kind and loving God judge me for it? All these sorts of questions people have that they didn't have in the past. We need to remember this, because many of us who hold the events, who are in charge, we've grown up in sort of a little church bubble, and we don't really realize how different the world has become. one of the things that I would really encourage you to do is to watch some of the older Billy Graham crusades that are on television. I think you'll find this very, very interesting because, and you'll really see the difference between people, just our general unchurched audience in the day and people today. In the 50s, 60s, America was still very much a Christian nation. If you watch the audience when Billy Graham is talking, almost everybody there has their Bible. Churched, unchurched, whatever, they all have a Bible with them. When Billy Graham says, "The Bible says," they look at him as if, "Oh, it really does," And at the end of the crusade, he's calling people to make a decision. But this is to a very informed audience of people who already know what salvation is all about, who Jesus is. They may never have personally appropriated it to their own life, but they understand it. You cannot count on that today. A number of studies show that it takes at least 7 exposures for people to understand what the gospel message is all about. We also need to really respect people's desire to research on their own, to join a study, to ask questions. And you see, once again, this is all just underline that our special events need to be connections, not an end in themselves. Now, the best PR, a few minutes ago I said it doesn't need to cost you anything, and it really doesn't, and that is if you use your people. This is from a book called How-tos, and this little statement really sums up the whole idea of the book, where it says, throughout biblical history, God has utilized the extended family as the primary instrument through which the good news of his love is communicated to the world. The New Testament writers called that group an oikos, the Greek term for household, and everyone has one. On average, yours is made up of anywhere from 8 to 15 people whom God has supernaturally and strategically placed in your sphere of influence. Now, if you can get your people, training them ahead of time to really understand that they don't have to reach the whole community. All they're responsible for is 8 to 15 people. This can be extraordinarily powerful. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on mass mailings and doing all that kind of stuff. Just inspire your people. Help them be intentional on asking their friends. I do have other webinars and videos on the website that really go into this. Please review the material on church and business and invitation cards. There's a lot of good stuff there. But you see, equipping your people is what you need to do for effective PR and outreach. You, though, need to give them the tools and the support. A series of integrated communications. Once again, we'll cover them briefly during this video. The website has many, many more. Your websites, your blogs, your email. In a few weeks, I'm going to be doing a whole series of webinars and training on how to do your own websites and blogs. Trust me, really, anybody listening to this can do it. It's so much easier than you would imagine. Print, invitation cards, postcards, door hangers, all those sorts of things. You want to create them. This kind of summarizes what I'm trying to tell you. This whole new approach is, instead of just looking at the big event as the end in itself, it's a connecting point. You get people to the event, but you don't just stop there. See the big blue box down there? You don't just stop there. You use it as a connection to introduce people to the Christian faith and to Jesus, to introduce people to your church, to take them to the next step and connect them to continuing activities. Now, let me give you a few examples of how this works, both in this webinar and then on the website. There are many additional resources on the major holidays, and as each holiday comes up, I'll do another webinar on that with new materials and things like that. We're going to just talk briefly, though, in this one about the 4th of July and summer celebrations. Now, here's a few very simple but very useful ideas. In the United States, and my apologies to many of you that I know are not in the United States, but you can adapt this however you would like. The 4th of July, our national holiday, is this year is on Sunday. So maybe you do a thing on freedom. What does it mean to be free in Christ, or whatever, pick some kind of a theme. One that I have done up for you, and these are available for members on the website, is looking at America as a graceful, sort of a play on the words, nation, taking the word grace and making it into an acronym for people's prayers, that our nation be godly, that it be righteous, that it be active in good works, that it be Christ-like, and that it be evangelistic. And you see how you could use this sort of as your basic theme, and then I'll talk about some other things you can do with it in just a minute. For summer and everywhere else, and my apologies here to those of you that are in Australia. I know I have quite a few people from Australia and India and different places who listen to my materials and come onto the web, so please just put this away and use it for whenever summer happens for you. But what about the idea of just summer refreshment? It can be hot and you can be working hard and all that kind of thing. What about something really refreshing? And I put together this little thing for you, and then details on the back where you can, using either one of these or any other one you might come up with, make up bulletin inserts, make up postcards. You can use them for images in your bulletin or on PowerPoint for members. I have these in a JPEG format, as well as the Microsoft editable Microsoft Publisher things, as well as PDFs that everybody can use. And then on the back, all of your details, your event, your location, the link to the website. So make these up and then give them out to all of your people to get them to an event or thinking about praying about an event. Now, let me tell you how something like the refreshment one worked. Actually, this is a real story. This was a church in Canada. The lady contacted me after the 4th of July a few years ago, and she said, you do all this stuff on the 4th of July. She says, well, obviously we don't have the 4th of July. She said, but our church every summer does a big barbecue, a big sort of community picnic. But she said, we work so hard on it, but nobody comes to church after that. And as we talked a little bit, I said, well, I think I have some ideas. So this is what I came up with, is first of all an invitation similar to, it wasn't exactly the same picture, but something to invite people like the one on, sort of taking a summer break or whatever. But then here's where it was very, very different than anything they'd ever done before. I said, when people come, first of all, right as they come in, have a giant basket of all kinds of barbecue goodies, maybe different barbecue sauces and, tongs and, maybe oven mitts or, whatever, just a whole bunch of things that people in your area would consider really neat things for putting on great barbecues. And ask them to sign a little registration card for a drawing for this thing of goodies. And it's perfectly okay to say, and I've done this on all sorts of little cards, say something like, love to have your information, we'll be contacting you to invite you to other things at the church. This happens at anything you attend. Don't feel shy on doing it, but you do that. And then when people leave, give them a recipe card. People love recipes. And on the back you can say something like, we hope that you enjoyed this little taste of our church. Forgive the pun, but our church just does lots of wonderful things that are as satisfying to the soul as we hope this meal was to you. And then you can put on it when your church meets regularly, some of your programs, whatever. And I provided this little card for members for, well, actually, I promised everybody that came to the webinar that you could get the card, and you'll be receiving a link on that. But you see, this is really a neat way to do it. Now, I know some of you might say, well, is it legal just to copy out recipes? Let me put your mind at peace. I used to write cookbooks. All of the recipes that I give you, I usually give you at least one or two during the holidays. These are my recipes. I own the copyright to them. They came from my cookbooks, and so they're perfectly legal. But after doing what I told you about, giving out this recipe, it was a different card, but this exact same recipe, the lady emailed me back after a few weeks, and she said, we had the best follow-up, the largest group of names from people, more people attending the church than we've ever had before. And you know, I think a lot of it wasn't just the great recipe, but a lot of times people, they just don't know what else you do. They don't know what else you want them to do next. So you see, just by these fairly simple pieces of paper given to people at appropriate times, then they know what's going on, how they can become involved. Now, no matter how big, little, small, large, whatever, one of the key things in all of this is your website. You must, on every piece that you give out, link people back to your website. And you see, the thing that is so great about websites is you can put lots and lots and lots of information there. It can be a section on your site. You can have a blog. Just really think about, what are the questions we want to answer. I mocked up a couple of little front pages of websites here. You can actually see, and this is from WordPress. I'm going to be doing in the next, actually it starts next week, some webinars, and then there'll be videos on the website on how to create blogs with WordPress. The thing that is so great about these is they are 100% free. Free, 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 free. Don't cost you a penny. And as you can see, this was the first one that I did up. I got the blog entitled Reason for the Season, and I'll change it for Christmas. I'll have Jesus' Reason for the Christmas Season or the Easter or whatever. When I was putting this together for Easter, first I just did a fairly simple nameplate. And then, and this is on the website, quite a few of you I think have seen this already. This is one of the neatest things I learned to do. You can create custom nameplates for your websites using Microsoft Publisher. Couldn't be easier. I show you how to do that on the website, and this is the new one that I came up with. I don't want to get distracted on that now, but the point is, what additional questions can you answer? Say you're doing something on freedom. Well, you can talk about freedom in Jesus, verses on freedom. You know, how do we become free from our sins? All of that can be on the website. Even just on rest and relaxation for the summer. What does it really mean to rest? You know, I am so tired. How can I find rest in Jesus? What are you talking about? You know, all these kind of things can be on the website. Your church events, your schedules, links to apologetic resources, all of those things can be on your website. This is very, very, very important, because today, no matter what you're looking at, whether it's to buy something or whatever it is, people always go to the website. And so that's where you want to have all the information that people need. For things like Easter, I do have other videos about this because it's much, much more complex. There are many things that you can do, not just planning for Easter week alone, but for a whole group of communications, for Lent, brunch invitations, great little things for children. You have Easter itself, and then you have all kinds of follow-up materials. If people still have questions, a bookmark that lists your normal activities. Lots and lots of things you can do. Again, all of this either is or will be on the website for you, and I will have it listed at the end of this, this video. I will have the additional material listed for you. Just to review, you want to think of summer and other events as connection times, not simply ends in themselves. This is how you connect people with your church on an ongoing basis. You can create postcards, bulletin inserts, invitation cards to equip your people. You see, all of these things, and all of them are available for members. This one for anyone who listened to the live webinar. But all of these things you can, they're all done up where they're half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet. They can be a postcard, a bulletin insert, an invitation, follow-up, whatever. But you want to put all your information on how to connect with the church, why they should come, etc. right there. And then be sure you have a link to your website. That's where you give people complete information. Perhaps you even have them sign up for an e-newsletter, whatever, so that you can continue to contact them on an ongoing basis. Once you do all those things, encourage your people to be involved. They can make an eternal difference in people's lives. And pray without ceasing that the Lord will bless your efforts and use them to bring many people to Himself. And may the Lord give you joy and peace and real excitement as you create communications this summer where your church won't slump, but where it will grow not only in numbers of people, but the people will really come to know Jesus and spend eternity with Him.